Oh, bro, it's so hard.
Start recovering straight away for riding tomorrow.
Yeah, lie on the sofa.
Oh, you're not lying on the sofa. Oh, you're not lying.
We've got more filming to do later.
Keep moving. Keep moving.
We're rolling? Yeah.
And
I used to play football, not like big league, just like Sunday league. And it used to be quite good because I used to play football on a Saturday afternoon and then ride on Sundays, which worked really well. And I think I was only 12 or 13. And then they changed the matches to Sunday mornings. So obviously it mixed in with the bikes. And that was the sort of time where I thought, do I stick with football, which I enjoyed, or do I continue with bikes? So luckily I stuck with the bikes. I got into it through my dad. My dad still rides bikes. He was into what we call green laning, so like riding on the roads and then like the dirt roads, green lanes, etc. So he did that when he was obviously in his mid-30s, early 40s, and I popped out. And then at the age of 6, I think, I started riding. So I've got an older brother who's 2 years older than me, and we started at the same time. I was 6, he was 8, and then we got into trials. So we both started trials at the same time. Most hard enduro riders now, well not all of them, but most of them start with trials. It's so crucial. But yeah, I did it from the age of 6 till about 12, 13. And then I think most people get bored of like the slow, techie riding, so you want a bit of speed. So then we went to the youth enduros. So I started doing enduros when I was 13. And I still did trials a little bit, but enduros were priority. And yeah, I got into enduros at 13, did them through my sort of teens, and then got to about, I think I was only about 19 when I did my first like extreme enduro. And then here I am at 28 and still doing it. So, but yeah, I think my parents got me into the sport. My dad still rides. He was the reason, well, he is the reason why I'm here today. But yeah, I just blame my dad for all the debt and all the money spent on bikes, but they've given me a really good life, my parents. So yeah, I can't fault it. But sometimes I wish I should have stuck with football. But then I think, well, we'll stick to bikes. Yeah.
Morning, Tuts.
yes,
Hey, mate, all right? Good?
Good.
Yeah, we're good, mate. Good.
Good.
What's on today then?
Fitness is obviously crucial because, especially with hard enduro, we're picking our bikes up off the floor. We're almost deadlifting our bikes off of hills, etc. So being fit is crucial, but obviously having strength is important because, like I said, it's different for us because we're probably riding our bikes 50% and pushing our bikes 50% because obviously it is what it is. Erzberg, for instance, like you can ride most of that, but like Carl's Diner, you're constantly like lifting the bike or moving the bike, and that's why it's so crucial to be fit because that race can vary. I think Manny won it in like 2.5 hours, and then there's some guys still going at 4 hours at the cut-off point. So you're riding for 3 to 4 hours. You've got to be fit because if you're not, you might as well not bother. So yeah, fitness for us, like I do a lot of, I don't want to be like a bodybuilder. I don't want to be big because it's not the right body shape for what we do. So I like to keep fit, like I say CrossFit with my trainer Tux. He sort of specifically trains me on the bike side of things.
Workout, we've got 3 rounds for time. Yeah. Okay, so we've got 21 calories on the air bike, we've got 12 rope climbs, 14 box jumps, which are going to be pretty tough, and then we've got those heavy sandbags to over shoulders for 12, just to finish you off to complete the round. Yeah. 3 rounds, mate. You break them up, you do what you need to do.
Smash them on.
But I'll be pushing you until you can't take any more. obviously Char's sport is riding the bike, so we need to try and focus on those areas, which is going to help him taking from the gym to riding, balance, stabilizing, replicating, being on the bike, working left to right, working lateral away from the body, focusing on 2 or 3 things whilst stabilizing the core, balance work, and stability, which at the end of the day is going to get him better on the bike.
Recovery is so crucial for us, because like if you have a hard race, you have like 2 or 3 days to recover, because then like come Wednesday I'm back in the CrossFit training, or I'm riding my bike in the week, and then weekends I'm racing. So it's just a constant cycle that is so important. If you're gonna keep on that pace, you've got to be able to keep up with it, and if you're not training, you might as well not bother. I don't really go mad with preparations because it's hard to prepare for different events. So as long as you're mentally strong and you're physically fit and you can ride your bike, then you see how the outcome, see what the result happens. But yeah, I don't really change anything specific for different preparations. Well, personally anyway, so.
It's good to know that the stuff which we're doing benefits him on the bike, because at the end of the day, that's what he's here for.
What's that then? That's the best I've done it.
People don't realize like fluids, like drinking water is so important. And I used to do it when I was younger. I used to think, I drink a litre or 2 a day. And then like 2 days before the event, I drink like 3 or 4 litres on the Friday, Saturday and race Sunday. But your body has to adapt to it. So now I realize drinking the same consistency of water the whole week is really important. So I like to drink my fluids. I have electrolyte tablets with Ride Nutrition. 1 or 2 of them in a litre bottle of water. Just keep your electrolytes up, because obviously we use so much energy. Like I said, carbohydrates, all that sort of stuff. You've got to replace what you're sweating out. But I prepare, I don't really go too mad, to be honest. Like, I'm on the bike a lot anyway, so that in as much. Like, I remember David Knight years and years ago was saying in an interview that he doesn't go to the gym because he rides his bike so much, he gets the bike time and the fitness all in one. And it was like, it's true, like you're getting the best of both. But yeah, preparation is just eating properly, drinking your fluids, because when it comes to that event, you're pushing 100%. Well, if you want to win or whatever, you're going to push as hard as possible. And that's why you've got to make sure that whatever you put into your body is going to be coming back out. So you've got to then replace it again with fluids, salt, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's all right. But no, it's good. Like now, like you feel tired, but you know that it's worth it. Like it's a good pump. But like some guys that go, or some of the girls that go, they just go just to keep fit. Whereas I like to go and like really push hard. Sometimes I do regret it, like the next day. I'm so tired, but no, once a week for me is enough. And like I said, with work, obviously racing, like weekends, obviously on the bike, you end up overdoing it, and then you just blow yourself too much, and then it's just like you're just knackered. So yeah, once a week is good.
When you go to an event, obviously you're there to ride your bike, but you need to make sure your bike is going to get you to the finish. And if you're not prepared, then you're going to set yourself up for failure. So for me, I focus more on my bike being 100%, because I don't think I've ever had a DNF, which did not finish. I don't think I've had a DNF from a mechanical. I think I crashed once and hurt myself and had to pull out because I was that badly injured. But I've never had a DNF from a mechanical problem, and I do my own bike work, so that sort of says itself that as long as you prepare your bike properly and maintain it, it'll get you to the finish. That's the struggle of being a privateer. You don't have a team. I do it all myself, so it's not easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm grateful for the sponsors I have, but when you go like Hispania, I went to Hispania a few weeks ago, and like there's all the race teams there. But the thing is, the riders turn up and they jump on their bike and ride it, and that's what you should be doing. But I'm unloading the van, setting up the camp, putting the gazebo up, getting my bike out, changing the tyre if I don't want that tyre on, and it's just time consuming, but it's also obviously energy sapping as well. So I sometimes get some help from some guys if they want to come out, but I don't normally trust people with my bike. I only have one guy, Mikey, who I let touch my bike because, well, I've had a few stories over the past. I've had different mechanics help me out, and I've had a spark plug loose. I've had, well, after a top end rebuild, a spark plug was loose. I've had engine bolts missing. So that's why I do most of the running mechanical stuff I do myself. This is a 2024 Beta 300 RR racing model. It's a racing model because it has upgraded suspension from standard with the KYB, not the standard. I think it was Sachs suspension. So this bike comes absolutely standard. I also have personal preferences, what I change. So I'll start from like top to bottom, a rundown of what I have. So I run the Astra handlebars. They're actually a Canadian brand, but over here in the UK, we have Rutherford Racing, who is a sponsor of mine. So he is a distributor for Astra, again, with Oxa, but I'll go into that in a minute. So I run the Astra Aurora bars. I think these are 27 mil low. So he has different heights of 35, well, 37 mil, 30 mil, 27 mil, just how high or low the bars are. I've tested all of them. These bars for me personally are the best bars on the market. I used to run Menthol, Pro Taper, but for extreme stuff, these bars really do give you a comfortable feeling. Like when we're traversing up steep hills, you don't want a high bar, because if you think about it, when you traverse up a hill, when the bike comes up to you, if you've got a higher bar, it's pushing you back. So the lower the bar, the more in control you are. So I don't actually run these grips. Normally, I run a medium compound. So basically they're just like a bit more harder wearing, they last longer. I put these on, I don't know why I put these on, but I put these on for something different. These are softer. So a lot of the motocross guys use the soft grips, but they'll change grips like every race, whereas these things last a lot longer. So I normally use those grips, but so yeah, handlebars, grips, like for what we call the cockpit, obviously it's important. If you're comfortable in the cockpit, you're comfortable on the bike. Work way down to the one gripper seat cover. They do a ribbed seat cover with sort of more grippy parts here, but this is a standard one gripper. So this is a bulletproof rear disc guard. Obviously, as you can see, it's done its job because it stops you bending the disc. Obviously all the rock gardens, as you can see here, obviously gets a bash in, but it stops you from bending the disc, so that is crucial. Another part, if you can see it around here, is the radiator guards. Again, bulletproof design. For me personally, when you get a new bike, protection is crucial. So that is one of the first things I'll do is fit radiator guards, because as you know, with extreme, like you're basically throwing your bike up and down hills, etc. So the last thing you want is a bent radiator or a split radiator, that sort of stuff. So the radiator guard for us is crucial. These ones are really slim fit and really easy. You haven't got to worry about taking the radiators off and fitting and all that sort of stuff. They just literally bolt into place. Since I've actually used these, touch wood, I've not done any radiators, so they are money well spent. So going down now, I think what we'll say probably is the Oxa exhaust system. So again, Oxa, I think, is a Spanish brand. So I've got the actual longer tailpipe for the Beta. They do a standard size, a short size, and this one is 60 mil longer than the genuine Beta tailpipe. So the Oxa tailpipe with Oxa factory front pipe. I've been running this exhaust system for a few months now, and for the extreme stuff, it makes such a difference with that bottom end lug. I tested the front pipe and the standard tailpipe, and then I tested vice versa with the Oxa front pipe, standard tailpipe, and I think the whole system itself definitely works better for me personally on the Beta. Suspension, I think, is probably the #1 thing most riders will do, is suspension setup. Now, I've got help from Ace Suspension Services. Quite fortunately for me, when I pick up my new bike from Beta, which is like up north somewhere, I pick up the bike and then they're actually based not far from Beta, so I go straight to the suspension shop and they set my suspension for me. Most people message me and say, oh, what do you do with your suspension? And I just get it stiffer. So whatever Ace do to my suspension is a grand job. I don't know what they do, they just stiffen it up, but it works for me. Some people go softer, some people go firmer. I just basically say to them, look, standard suspension on the Beta is really good, the KYB stuff, but I'm obviously hitting stuff quite hard. So I said to the guys, look, if you can just stiffen it a little bit, and they set it to my weight and revalve it. So yeah, suspension for most, well, all riders is obviously like the #1 thing to do. So yeah, shout out to Ace for that one. Again, on protection parts around here, we've got the front disc guard. That's just a plastic Acerbis disc cover, just stops any glancing rocks. There are quite a few companies that do really robust front disc guards, but they're actually quite heavy. So although they are good at their job, obviously it weights the front down a little bit. To be fair, I've only ever really bent like 3, 4 front discs in my whole life, because I just normally wheelie stuff, so I don't try and hit the front wheel if I can help it. But yeah, again, there's loads of front disc guards on the market, but this is just a standard Acerbis front disc guard. The next one is probably the most common question I get asked a lot, especially on the B and the Beta, is the gearing. Now, different bikes, different gearing come standard. I think the TPIs with the gas and KTM used to come 1350 from standard, and then I would drop to 1248. So it's, for extreme, it's much shorter and sharper. So when you're in like a gully in the woods and it's like a rock step and you've got like 2 feet in front of you as a run up, you need it to be really short and sharp and kick in. Whereas if you're on 1350, you've got to slip the clutch quite a lot, and obviously you're losing traction, you're burning that clutch, obviously it won't last as long. So on this bike at the moment, I've got 1248, and that's probably what I normally run for most events. The bike comes 1448 standard, which is quite good because for Erzberg Prologue, I can run the 14 turf from the front and leave the rear sprocket, do the Prologue runs, and then just drop the front sprocket 2 teeth, and obviously adjust the chain, and I haven't got to split the chain then, and then I'm good to go for the main event. Again, with the gearing, it's very personal. Some people run 1352. 1352 and 1248 is actually the same gearing. It's just a bigger circumference with the bigger sprockets. So it does the same job, but if you've got a bigger rear sprocket, it's more prone to get hit. So the smaller rear sprocket, like, it sort of stays out of the way. So gearing on this is 1248, which I get asked quite a lot. This is a 24MX custom pull strap, which I made out of an actual tie-down strap, but it's been on there for 4 months. It's not come off, and these are actually really handy because if you're like me and you don't like getting your gloves muddy and you're in the woods and you can't get your back wheel out of a rut, what you normally see guys do is either grab the wheel and lift the wheel, obviously your gloves are now covered in mud, or they'll grab this part of the mud guard. But the problem with that is sometimes you need to lift the bike up straight, whereas when you hold that part, naturally the bike comes towards you, and that's not what you want. So when you've got a pull strap, you can lift it vertically up. So these things are an absolute godsend. Sometimes you do get your foot caught in them if you've got to like get your leg over the bike, etc. But the rear one's quite crucial. The front one, these are actually really good because well, when I first did Erzberg, I wasn't very good. And you used to get the guys with the big ropes and the hooks. And if you didn't quite make it up a hill, they'd send you this rope down with like a hook on the end of it, and you'd hook it around that, and then all of a sudden your bike would just be taken up like the heavens away from you, and then you just hang on to it, and the guys pull you up the hill, you unhook it, and then obviously if you're in the woods, some guys can help you and pull the strap. I think most hard enduro riders have got pull straps. And again, with protection parts, it's the Acerbis engine casing covers. Again, they're only plastic, but I'm quite fortunate I don't damage my bike a lot. But these things, obviously underneath, I'm not sure what the metal is if it's cast, but it saves you from glancing rocks. And the amount of times I see people without the engine casing covers on, and they've just got a massive hole when they've just basically put a hole in their clutch cover. Obviously the oil comes out, it's game over. So these things, again, for extreme enduro, is a godsend. I've only got a standard sump guard on at the moment, but most people normally run the AXP sump guard. So with the Betas, the Shercos, basically all the bikes but KTM, if you look down here, we've obviously got linkage. So that suspension part here, as you can see, well, as you can see there, I've obviously given it a few smacks, but the AXP sump guard is an all-in-one piece that will actually cover to about here, so it covers the bottom of the linkage, stops you from splitting it. Like I said, I've only got a standard one on now on the bike for now, so it's not covering it. But normally I run an AXP sump guard, which will cover that. It's about 6mm thicker plastic, really strong plastic. That's what I normally run, especially for Erzberg with Carl's Diner. There's just rocks everywhere. And whilst I think of it as well, this brake tip, that brake tip is, I think it's like maybe 10, 15 mil wider than the standard brake tip. Another reason why we put them on is, I know it sounds daft, but if you look here, you can see that the original clutch cover and then the plastic cover on the outside makes it like 10 mil wider. So when you've got the standard brake tip, sometimes you can't get your toe on the brake tip because it's like too close to the engine casing cover. So we put these bigger brake tips on, so your foot's got more coverage to get the brake tip, whereas if it was a smaller one, your foot would be like pointing in, trying to look for that back brake. And these things are obviously stronger. Well, I mean, that's only a bit of damage I've done to it. And that's been on the bike for like 8 months. So it's done its job. With the bike itself is basically personal preference. I'm really fussy with grips. As you can see, I like to make a good job of doing my grips. Probably got OCD with it, but I remember Billy actually said this. Billy Bolt said something like, if you've got a happy cockpit, you've got a happy rider. Because if you're comfortable with your levers and your bars and you've got a nice setup that makes you ride better. And I've always been the same, like even on the trials bikes, I like to have nice grips. I see riders with busted grips. I see riders with like broken throttle tubes and they're still riding. And I'm like, dude, just put a new throttle tube on it. It's so much easier. But again, I'm just fussy. But for me, the handlebars and grips is probably the most crucial thing. But yeah, like I said, suspension again, it's down to personal preference. But, oh, and lastly, most importantly, tires and mousses. Like again, no one runs tubes anymore. Tubes are pretty much gone of the day now because punctures, if you plan a big ride out with your mates and you get a puncture like 20 minutes in, it just ruins the day. So I run the Michelin medium Enduro tires and then the Michelin bib mousse inside. Obviously you can't see the mousse. This is obviously a well-used tire, but there's plenty of life left in it. I'll use that tomorrow for the shoot we're doing. Plenty of grip left on it. And again, with the front tire, I've got the Michelin medium front. I opt for the wider tire. So on these tires here, you can see it, it says the size there, 90-100-21. So they do a 90-90-21, which is basically a skinnier tire. Not many people use them because they're great for mud, sand, anything faster because it cuts through the mud nice and easy because it's narrower. But for any enduro, hard enduro, we use the fatter tire because it has more sort of ground coverage. So obviously on the big rocks, etc., it sort of splays the tire out across the rock better. And that's what I've always ran and it works for me. So yeah, Michelin, tires and mousses. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it on my personal setup on the bike. And to be completely honest, you could buy this bike out of the box and not touch it. I mean, probably put mousses in it, but these things out of the box are good enough anyway. I mean, these are just personal preferences. I've tested like the exhaust system, it does go well. I do like it a lot, but out of the box, these things sort of speak for themselves really. So yeah, happy with the Beta. Getson is my favorite event because it's a very small enclosed area, but it is hard enduro. It is how extreme enduro should be. And the fans that are there is like, I remember one year, I didn't make the main event because I didn't get through the qualifying. And I went to go watch the race, obviously, like everyone else did, and I could not get anywhere to see the track because there were so many people, like 5 or 6 deep by the fence. You couldn't see anything. People were climbing trees to see the track. So I had a bit of a brainwave and thought, oh, I'll go and grab a Marshall bib. So I ran back up to the office and I remember I had a €50 note in my hand. And I was like, I'll give this to anyone that gives me a blue bib because you can get on the track with the blue bib. And the woman was like, oh no, that's right, you can have mine. I was like, and she goes, no, I don't want that. So I took the Marshall bib, straight on the track, straight in the hardest part of the track, and I was just there and amongst it, watching it all. But yeah, the people that go and support that, it's like 11,000 or something, or even more than that. They appreciate, obviously, that it's not easy. So they're cheering you on, they're getting you going, hyping you up. I did this rock step last year in the main event, because obviously they do the morning race one way, and then they do it the reverse way for the final, which is obviously stuff you're going down, you're now going up. And I'm thinking, how the fuck are we gonna get out of that? It's like that. So anyway, I did this step 1 lap and everyone's cheering me on, and I was thinking, I gotta get up this. And I got to the top and they were going absolutely mad, so I was revving my bike. That's what it's about. It's about having fun and the people there cheer you on. And like you just look out and there's a field down at the bottom where the start area is by the road, and you can't see grass. There's just people lined everywhere, down the road, down the woods, everything. And I'm thinking, this is what it's about, like the atmosphere. And I've done it three years now, and every year it's just been busier and busier. But credit to the guys that run the event, because the event is run by people that don't even ride bikes. Like Matthias, who runs the event, he's I think a nurse or whatever he does. The guys that make the event, I think one's a bus driver, one's a nurse, one's a school teacher. Like, they don't ride bikes, but they get it so right. Like the track, the stuff they build, the bridges, the wooden fences. No, I like most stuff, but yeah, I think I could definitely say polished trees are not my favorite, but I don't come across many of them, but when the bark comes off of it, it's like the polished wood, underneath. And if you don't hit that straight, the front end goes. And if you get your front end over and your back wheel touches it, the back end goes. And obviously, like, especially in Wales, if you're riding on a hill and you've got a fallen down tree, if you don't get that log right, you're going down that hill, and then you just keep going and going and going, and it's just never ending. I mean, I like riding over trees, especially logs or whatever, but those awkward wet trees that are like, there's no bark on it, it's just polished ice. And like I said, if it's on an angle and you hit that wrong, the front wheel goes, and then it's just, you've got to lift the bike back up. And some of the events even, if you drop off that main route, you've got to go back down and come back up what you've just done and do it again. And if you don't get it right, you're going to end up in the same position. My worst injury? That's a good question. Oh, I know one. The worst injury I did training, riding my bike. And this always happens. People always get injured training, not racing. It's always the way. It was this knee. I was up a local track at Cheddar on my motocross bike, and I basically came into this corner, went around the rut, and as I dropped into the rut, the bike came out. But as it did, it pulled that leg that way. I went that way, the bike went that way. And I just remember, I don't normally crash, I'm quite fortunate, I don't crash much. And I remember screaming on the floor. And I was like, ah. So Marshall came over and my leg went really numb. I've never had that feeling before. So the paramedics came over, so I'm led in this mud in my helmet. So they've taken my goggles off, and they took my boot off because it was my knee that was hurting, and they cut my trousers. I had a brand new pair of trousers on as well, typical. They cut my trouser, took my knee brace off, my knee just went like that, so I had to go to hospital. And I basically just pulled the ligament. I didn't do any ACL damage, luckily, but I pulled the ligaments on the outside of my knee. So it was just swollen for ages, and I honestly wish I just broke my leg, because the recovery on that took like 5-6 months. But I was walking on it and I was doing normal stuff. But I remember I dislocated it twice afterwards, and I've never dislocated a shoulder before. And I couldn't work out what happened, and I was walking on it really faint. And I remember I stood up, put my feet together and bent down to the floor, and it went, and it clocked back in. And I was like, oh, it was a horrible feeling. And then the second time I was walking through a forest, and a bramble caught around my foot and it jolted my knee and dislocated again. But I knew what to do straight away. And when it popped back in, it was a worse feeling. But yeah, touch wood, I've not done anything else since. It's just that knee, it's just the ligaments. But that was like 5-6 years ago. So hopefully keep it that way. So. definitely had a lot of sacrifices over the years to get where I am, but it is what it is. Like, I wouldn't have it any other way. So yeah, there's sacrifices made in everything. Like, my family obviously understand that I'm never really home. Like, although I'm home now, I don't think I'm home 4 out of 7 days a week, because I'm always normally in Wales training and riding and doing coaching days, or I'm obviously abroad racing. But yeah, it's, like I said, I've made a lot of sacrifices in my life, but I wouldn't change it, because I'm sat here now and I've got a lot of memories as well. Like, I've traveled a lot over the years, and I think if I wasn't riding bikes, I wouldn't have done that. You work harder because you know when you have a good result, you've worked hard for it and you've earned it. I won't go into too much detail because I could chat for hours, but this day and age of the sport, it's all about the money. I see stuff every day on social media, and it's people joining teams. I won't say any specific names, but you see people joining teams, and I think, yeah, fair play, you join that team, but it's only because you bought a practice bike and a race bike for whoever. So yeah, they're happy to have you as a rider on their team, but you've just spent 20 grand on 2 bikes. So when I go to an event on my own and I beat that person, it makes me feel good. And it thinks all that hard work, late nights, bike prepping, all that sort of stuff makes it worthwhile. So I am very grateful that I've got the help I have now. Getson Rodeo's on the calendar next year, and for me, Getson is the best event for everything, for the crowds, the riding, the after party, all that sort of stuff. But it's just another year of doing the same thing, really. Like, I started this year really sort of unknowing what I was doing, because I had a few financial sponsors pull out, and obviously that determined what I could and couldn't do. I was part of a team for this year, and that went tits up quite early on, and that affected my Romaniacs ride, which I was supposed to do. I still haven't done Romaniacs, and I want to do it one year. So, but yeah, no, I think my plan this year is to do what I can afford, what people are willing to help out with. We've also got the British Extreme Championship and obviously the World Hard Enduro Championship. That's the 2 things I focus on, because with the British Championship, with Beta UK, obviously they supply me a bike, and that's what is important for them, to be seen at the UK events. So I would like to sort of carry on with that. And then the World Hard Enduro Championship, again, is what I can afford to get to. Obviously the first round's in Wales again, so that's perfect for us. I mean, we're just basically going to beat ourselves up, if I'm honest, but no, it's almost like a family, because everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's there to ride their bikes, have fun. Obviously, you want to win, do your best. But I can't honestly say I don't know why we do it. I mean, I enjoy it. I think what I enjoy the most about Extreme Enduro is that you get to a track and there's a hill, and you've got to get to the top of that hill, whether you ride up it, whether you pivot it, if you traverse it, all that sort of stuff. You've got to get from A to B, no matter what. And obviously that takes determination, pushing, shoving, sweating, crying, laughing, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of mixed emotions, but when you get to that finish, you think, yeah, like, you've worked hard for it. But yeah, you go through a lot of shit to get to that point. So it's not plain sailing, as I can say. But yeah, like I said, I still race with people that I've been racing for like 5 or 6 years, and they're the same age as me or a bit younger, and they're still at it, and they're the same, they still enjoy it. But quite honestly, I don't think, same as me, if they weren't riding their bike, I don't know what they'd do. Like, play the piano or something? I don't know.
Cool. I think we have it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sweet. Happy days. Happy days. Is it cold out there? It's warm, isn't it? There's all of that light on here.
Really, that's
It is nice.